Hey guys, it's Deanna from Far From Homesteading, and today I want to talk to you guys about how to build your stockpile. I know that a lot of people are very overwhelmed by this, and I just wanted to give you guys a couple tips to help you guys get started today. The first thing that is so important when it comes to building a stockpile is making a plan. Grab a notebook and make a list of all the things that you would want to put in your stockpile. Make sure that you include items that your family eats. Do not stockpile 20 bags of something that you've never tried, because when you try it, it might be terrible, and then you just wasted space that you could have put something else that your family likes to eat. So if you are trying something new that you don't know if your family's going to eat or not, just buy one. Cook it now, try it out, see if your family likes it before you go out and spend a bunch of money on an item that takes up a bunch of space that no one likes to eat anyways. That's going to be my first tip, is to really make a plan. Make a list, and then as you go, you can mark the things off your list as you buy them. Don't go buy everything on the list at once, because that's really stressful, especially the amount of money that you would spend to buy a stockpile all at once. Just $5 to $10 when you go to the grocery store, just a couple items here and there, is really going to help out as far as saving for a stockpile without going broke. Another thing to consider when starting your stockpile is where you're going to keep it. Maybe you have a pantry like the one behind me, and it holds a lot, it really does, but it does not hold enough for a stockpile. So this pantry here in my kitchen, I just keep the things that I use right now, and then I rotate out of my stockpile. And I will be honest, most of my stockpile is stored in the back in one of my bathrooms that I don't use. It stays very cool in there, not too cold, but it stays very cool. There's not a lot of light that gets in there. It's not really used at all, and so we use that spot to store food because it's the best spot for us as far as temperature and out of the way. You really want to consider what the temperature is in the place that you're storing. You don't want to store your food in a really hot place. It's going to make your food go bad. You want to store your stockpile in an area that doesn't get too hot or too cold, and it's accessible, but it's also out of the way. You're going to want to decide where you're going to want to store your stockpile before you get to buying just a ton of stuff, because you want a really good location. You want to store it someplace where it's going to last as long as possible. You're going to want to determine how much you want to stockpile. How long do you want to have food for? How paranoid are you, I guess? You know? Personally, I want to have enough food for at least a few months if something happens. Ideally, you would save more. But if you can save at least a few months of food, that is a really good start. I don't have a ton of space in this house to store food, so what I do store, I try to get the best quality food, the thing that's going to fill us up, the thing that my family likes the most, the thing that stores for the longest, and then I just stock up on that. We might get into that in another video, but yeah, determine how much you need, how many people are you buying for, and how long are you going to want to be prepared for. Really, it's personal preference. Some people feel okay just having enough food for a week, just in case the electricity goes out. Some people want to have enough food for a year or longer because they're concerned about other issues. So it is just personal preference, but make sure that you're storing it correctly, and that way you don't end up wasting food. That's really important. Like I said, just buy a few things at a time. Don't go blow all your money on a stockpile. $5 or $10 each time you go to the grocery store is going to help more than you know. And make sure, if you are buying a bunch of canned vegetables, say, like, I know that corn has been hard to come by, and I know that there's been corn shortages, so if I see a bunch of corn at the grocery store, I'm going to get a bunch of cans of corn at the grocery store, because they are really hard to come by. So keep that in mind when you're doing your stockpile. If you find something that's been hard to find, maybe you need to stock up on it. Alright, I know it's common sense, but I just want to help everybody at every level. And I know that some people are just now starting and they don't know where to start. So if you're there, I want to help you. If you are an experienced prepper and you have a stockpile, I want to help you too. So I'm just trying to give you guys hints and tips in case that maybe you haven't thought of, or maybe you're just not thinking of right now. Situationally, everything's different. Probably the most important tip I can give you, besides storing it in a good temperature, because you don't want to store it, like if your food gets hot and gets ruined and then an emergency happens and you go to your stockpile and all your food is like bad, that's a problem. That's not a problem that you want to have. So make sure you store it good, and make sure you are rotating out your items. If you buy a bunch of tuna fish this time at the grocery store, make sure you're putting it at the back and you're rotating that tuna fish out, because you want it to last as long as possible. You want to put the newest stuff on the back. You want to rotate the oldest stuff up and use it first. It is going to make your stockpile last, and it is going to allow you to utilize all of the product and not waste anything. It is so important when things cost as much as they do that we don't waste these items. And if you wanted to get ahead of the game as far as stockpiling goes, and a lot of homesteaders already know this and are already doing this, is grow a garden. If you grow a garden and learn how to preserve your own food, your stockpile is going to grow exponentially. You're going to have vastly more opportunities, because you're going to have those things like tomatoes and vegetables that you might not get if you were stuck in a situation, and they're going to come from your garden. A stockpile is a great thing to have, but a skill like gardening, it propels you towards sustainability. If you can sustain yourself, then you won't have to rely so much on going to the grocery store to build a stockpile. So yes, grow a garden, because as much as the stockpile is going to give you a sense of security, the garden is going to propel you towards sustainability. And that is where true security comes from, guys. I hope you found this information useful, and I hope that you can use these tips to help you build your stockpile. Till next time, guys. Bye.